From Informa Tech Target, I'm Beth Pariseau, and this is IT Ops Query. This podcast distills the signal from the noise about enterprise software development and platform engineering. Each week, we'll talk to expert guests about the latest tech industry news and trends that engineering and IT leaders need to know. Don't forget to subscribe to IT Ops Query for more conversations on AI and the future of the enterprise digital workspace. Yuval Fernbach has more than a decade of hands-on experience in the realm of data and machine learning and served as the co-founder and CTO of Qwak from 2020 until it was acquired by JFrog in 2024. Fernbach is now vice president and CTO of JFrog ML, a subset of the JFrog software supply chain management toolset focused on AI and machine learning operations, or MLOps. In September, JFrog extended this platform to manage AI models and create machine learning bills of materials, inventories of AI model components and training data dependencies similar to a software bill of materials. Last month, it introduced a feature called Shadow AI Detection, which automatically detects, creates an inventory of, and can be used to centrally govern all internal AI models and external API gateways used throughout an organization. Welcome, Yuval.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So given your experience in both machine learning and generative AI, what unique challenges does Gen AI pose in software supply chain security as opposed to machine learning models and workflows?
So it's a great question. And as you said, I've been in the area of ML for more than a decade. And one of the big differences around Gen AI is that Gen AI is not used only by data scientists. It's now used by almost every software engineer, and it's actually impacting our software development lifecycle. And of course, by the fact that developers use Gen AI as part of the development, the risks are basically greater than in the past. The governance issues that we now have, the challenges that we have are bigger than in the past. So that's one part of this. Another is that we're seeing the impact of Gen AI. We're seeing the impact of our models, and AI can actually give us additional features and enrich our experience. And that's making us developing software that actually is enriched by AI. So it's not just our software development lifecycle that is changing, and AI is now part of the way that we develop our software. It's also the fact that the software that is being developed actually use AI. And of course, attackers, for example, understand that and aim specifically around that field. So the fact that we're using more AI, of course, create more risk and challenges around how to manage those type of resources.
Right. So then you have cloud providers like Microsoft and many more that claim to bake AI security into their software supply chain products and their AI services. So why do enterprises use a separate platform like JFrog's in addition to that?
So a lot of the responses that we get from customers, a lot of the feedback that we get from customers is, customers are managing their software development lifecycle in JFrog. They're enriched by the JFrog product. They can actually have more security features and governance features around their applications and artifacts using JFrog. And because the AI is becoming part of software development, then organizations actually want to manage those new artifacts in the same way that they're managing the software artifacts. And having the ability to create, a single development lifecycle, a single CI/CD that's managed both AI and any other type of software. And again, that other type of software now include AI as part of it is actually crucial for customers. So, it's great that you can get solutions from cloud providers that already secured in terms of their AI usage, but eventually it's not just about those solutions that you get from AI providers. It's also the solutions that you build in-house and making sure that they are protected and build in a way that embed the AI challenges and of course the solutions for those AI challenges as part of this lifecycle.
Yeah, and sort of the stereotype, I guess, sometimes is that security is an afterthought in the industry, especially when everyone's trying to move fast and beat out competitors. And many enterprises were struggling to adopt things like SBOMs even before generative AI. So what do you think is the state of software supply chain security now, and has anything changed?
So it is changing, first of all. So, when Gen AI started to be as a thing, companies started to see it a couple of years ago, and ChatGPT was just released. You've seen many products that try to embed Gen AI and actually failed doing that. Failed in terms of the user experience, in terms of the responses that those products actually got from Gen AI. And since then, we've seen some kind of a slowdown in production implementation, but a lot of usage around AI. And I think that this is the point where organizations are understanding how to adopt AI in a more mature way, I would call it. Like last year, I heard of many companies that just blocked access to Gen AI, blocked access to model repositories. But since then, they understood that they just cannot do that. Their employees expect to use AI, their customers expect to be enriched by AI, and they're understanding that you cannot just embrace it. You cannot just use it without any understanding of the challenges and risks around that. So I am seeing more and more and hearing from more and more organizations that are trying to implement AI in a more secured and mature way. And the regulators, of course, also understanding that and trying to build systems that allow to adopt AI in a more mature and risk-free, let's call it, way.
Right. You can try and block it, but they're going to use it, right? So that's where the shadow AI conversation comes in. How widespread is that? Do you know?
So it's way more widespread than organizations think. One of the statistic I just find out about recently is the fact that almost 4 out of every 10 engineers actually use AI, but through their personal accounts. And this is another aspect of shadow AI, right? The fact that you blocked the usage of AI, but actually, an employee can just open their phone or their browser, go to their personal account of any one of the AI providers and use it, and maybe even send private data to that AI without the organization actually really realizing that.
Right.
And the fact that it happens, with personal accounts, also it also happens with production artifacts, with software artifacts, either that developed by engineers, but also artifacts that you get from third-party providers, for example. And we've seen that in Artifactory, there are already a lot of AI artifacts or artifacts that actually call external AI providers without organization actually realizing that. And this is eventually our take around shadow AI, making sure that organizations can detect basically where AI is being implemented and understand if that AI is something that they understood that's happening, that they are manage that, or if it's an unmanaged AI usage that they either need to block or go through a process to approve that.
Right. So as organizations move along that maturity curve, let's say, from just totally blocking to governing, how do you see AI and MLOps supply chain security evolving, especially with agents now coming in to complicate things even more?
That's a really good question, and that's, by the way, another like of the many risks and challenges around AI. The fact that when you use agents, those are not just models that you call in the background. Those are models that actually do things in the background. They actually interact with your system, interact with your data, and of course, the risks and the challenges are even greater with that. So. I believe that one of the differences with agent is the fact that you are actually interacting with internal systems, you are interacting with your software, making the difference in the way that organization adopting them. So unlike chatbots that we started with a couple of years ago, with agents, organization now understand the risks. they have more visibility around that, and they understand why they need to manage that in a different way, why they need to manage the permissions, and of course the the security risks around each one of the agents that are implemented. So we're seeing the rise of agents. We're seeing more and more systems that use agents, but I do believe that those systems now uses those agents in a more mature way, and in places, in applications where it makes sense, and not in places where the risks are actually greater than the value that you get.
Right. Is there anything different fundamentally about securing agents as opposed to chatbots and Gen AI models?
The main difference is the fact that agents also interact.
Ah, okay.
So the fact that they do interact means that you need to configure the connections between the agents to different systems in a more secure, managed way. You need to actually create the right guardrails around those agents and making sure that data that should not leave your systems, for example, is being managed accordingly. You need to make sure that those configurations protect your system against what agents can actually do.
Mm,
So it does mean more basically more maturity is needed to actually adopt that than a chatbot or any kind of other AI implementation.
yeah. That maturity just keeps ratcheting up, even though things are going so fast. So another kind of longstanding sticking point in enterprise IT has been the notion of developer and security collaboration. It's been expressed as an ideal, and DevSecOps has been used for quite a while as a term. But some analysts say that the reality is that many organizations still don't have that kind of close communication. With Gen AI coming on the scene, are you seeing any change in how different roles are addressing software supply chain security between developers and security professionals?
um, One of the advantages of Gen AI is that in the hands of the right developer and right security engineer, it actually gives us a lot of power, the ability to go through more data, the ability to have a faster, analysis jobs, and the ability for every person to actually adapt more data.
Mm,
So in terms of the risks, in terms of the challenges, in terms of the need for DevSecOps, I think that the need is still it's still something that organization need and actually even need more of, because of the fact that Gen AI makes our development faster. We create more code, we run more lifecycle processes, we create more pull requests. So the amount of changes in organization changed significantly with the adoption of Gen AI.
mm,
So I think that the need still exists, and of course you need it in larger scale, but you also get quite a lot of benefits from the capabilities of Gen AI. So in some way, I think that using those technologies, organization can actually get more capabilities around DevSecOps and can actually implement DevSecOps in an easier way.
hmm,
But still, the need for DevSecOps, the need for every development, any developer to actually have security in mind and making sure that your release lifecycle actually implement security best practices as well, is still there, and even going with that pace of innovation and pace of changes that this Gen AI era actually brings to every company that adopted Gen AI. So yeah, it's just becoming a greater risk in a way.
mm. Is there anything that developers should know that they don't know about Gen AI adoption?
There's a lot, of course.
Sure.
There's a lot that I still need to learn,
Hmm.
and I probably don't know yet. Um, but I think that mostly it's the fact that Gen AI, in a way, amplify our good things, but also our bad things. And if you don't have good practices, for example, around security, around DevSecOps, then it will amplify the amount of risks that we are basically creating in our system. If we have good practices, if we have a good release lifecycle, for example, then it will actually work great with GenAI as well. And I think this is something that organizations need to think of. If the current release lifecycle is built in a robust way, if it have all the metadata that's needed between different releases, if organization trust the artifacts that they create, Gen AI can actually boost basically their release process, boost the amount of changes that they do, and they will still get that visibility. But if currently there are challenges in their processes in their life cycle, then Gen AI will probably not help with that, but actually introduce more risks to their software. And this is something that I do believe organizations need to think of and making sure that they build in the right way, even before they adopt Gen AI in large scale.
Yeah. What about the platform engineers that tend to be building these golden paths to production for developers and may have this more on the brain than the devs? How should they approach this? Where would they start, for example?
So probably around the fact that they need to expect more changes and they need to expect higher automation rate. So taking that into mind and making sure that they reduce the manual steps, they reduce the steps that are not automated,
Mm,
they reduce the steps that require human intervention and people, for example, writing what are the changes that they are doing and making sure that all those parts are actually automated. So a Gen AI system will be able to actually get in more features based on that and still bring in the visibility around changes to every developer and every user of the system. So eventually, they are building the platform that will need to be the infrastructure, right? That will make all of that possible.
right. And then, of course, since, as you point out, generative AI is being used everywhere, JFrog Fly was released in beta in October, described as the world's first agentic artifact repository. So, what does that mean, and how is that different from the existing Artifactory?
So Artifactory is a robot system that we've built over a lot of years, and of course, many enterprises use it nowadays for their artifacts management, for the software management, and DevSecOps. And what we found out is that for small teams, for small organizations, implementing best practices around Artifactory, making sure that they build the release lifecycle in a robust way, in a way that can be scaled up using, for example, Gen AI solutions. Of course, although that is possible and required all those best practices to be implemented, it's something that for small teams is difficult to actually build.
Mm,
And the idea about Fly is for us to, first of all, implement all those best practices, but also create an interface that is agentic by definition and allows those organizations to get the agentic user experience that they expect, but while implementing best practices behind the scenes around how artifacts should be managed across the release
mm.
lifecycle. So the idea, the way we build that is for those small teams to have those capabilities, but eventually making sure that those capabilities also extend the features that already exist in Artifactory and allowing those enterprises that use Artifactory nowadays to also get those agentic features directly from the JFrog platform.
So, is it substituting natural language for code-based interfaces, or what exactly is different about the experience of using Fly than the regular software?
So the main difference is that it integrates natively to the source code repositories of organizations and allow
Hmm.
them to manage everything using a single interface.
Uh,
So organization can actually integrate, for example, directly with their GitHub, manage directly from their source code repositories to their artifacts repositories including security embedded in it, including the ability to manage different stages of applications and all of that using their source code interface, a generative Gen AI interface, without the need to integrate manually different tools together. Of course, many of those features already exist in the JFrog platform. So, for example, we already have an integration with GitHub for the JFrog platform, and organization can already get a lot of features from that. But again, those features as part of the JFrog platform for small teams, you don't really need all those features, and you can easily just use Fly, integrate all of that directly to your source code repositories, and start getting all the benefits of Artifactory with a generative AI interface.
So I saw that's expected out next year. Any other predictions or forward-looking thoughts about next year and generative AI and software supply chain security?
I believe we'll probably see new models, new capabilities. It's happening daily nowadays that new models are being launched with better results, a better experience. Even the cost is becoming lower. So I expect more and more such models to exist, and more integration points like MCPs and others to exist as well. And one other thing that we actually presented at the Swarm Hub conference is the fact that we now have, as part of the catalog that we launched in September, the ability to also manage MCPs in the same way. So we are seeing the AI artifacts that are needed as part of AI development growing to be more than just models, but also MCPs and other artifacts. And this is part of the path that we are doing in JFrog, the ability to manage any AI artifact and create applications using those artifacts directly using your JFrog platform and integrating all of that to your software release lifecycle.
Great. So thank you very much for taking the time. I know it's a busy time of year for everyone, so appreciate you sharing your insights and knowledge of the market with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to IT Ops Query. To learn more about enterprise software development and platform engineering, explore our content on Informa Tech Target sites. Find us on YouTube at our channel, Ion Tech. Subscribe to our podcast to receive the latest episodes as they drop. And if you liked what you heard today, give us a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Thank you for joining us.